Now, here's the question, guys. Here's the question, but it's come in 20 times, so I'm going to answer it for you. It goes like this. Do you think Nate Diaz is going to return to the UFC after Jake Paul? And if so, who will he fight? I've been asked that in so many different directions. Look, my greatest source for what Nate is going to do, I don't call him and get it because I don't want to know. I want to speculate with you guys. But my greatest source is still him. It's still him. And I don't mean a direct line. I go read his interviews. His social media will pop up. My wife is a Nate fan. She'll show me something that he did. So I gather and I stay in touch this way. I thought that Nate from Jump Street being the point where we jumped off, was right after beating Tony Ferguson. Right there with Joe Rogan on the microphone, Nate told the world, I'm going to go do X, Y, and Z. And when I'm done, I'm coming back. I'm coming back to the UFC and I'm coming back to win championships. Okay. So now we got X, Y, and Z lined up, right? And we never knew what that was. Allegedly, that was even going to be some fight promotion. That was going to be go out there and get your own network and distribution and sign your own fighters. Like there was some level of this. But we were never told perfectly clear. Now we got Nate versus Jake. That's coming up. So with a victory by Nate, because it's two different questions, right? I think he returns either way. But I'm going to do this from a positive standpoint of with a victory. If Nate beats Jake, he is going to attempt to return to the UFC, and he's coming back for championships. I don't know that he would qualify to walk right in to a welterweight match. When he was busy and active and under contract, and everybody thought of him and the UFC synonymously, he was not in talks to be fighting for a welterweight match. At 155 pounds, which I don't think he's ever going to return to again, but it would be the same as I said above. Even when he was there, those talks weren't going on. Well, not so fast. By the time Nate gets done with Jake, and if we're assuming that comes with a victory, and Nate says, I'm coming back to the UFC for championships, you would be wrong to assume he meant a weight division championship. He would only be coming back for one championship, his championship, the championship, which eluded him because according to him, it was cut short by a doctor who never should have stopped the fight after 15 minutes that was scheduled for 25. And I'm, of course, talking about the BMF. So when people ask me what's next for Nate Diaz, I many times ask them, what do they believe has changed for Nate Diaz? He thought he was the BMF. He went out there to contest it. He did not like the way that that fight was stopped. The guy that they gave it to, right? I mean, this is a game of duration. I can think of so many people, and so can you. So many people, though, when I was a freshman, you look left, look right, go, man, I'm never going to catch those guys. But by the time you become sophomore, some of them just didn't come. For whatever reason, they just didn't come out. So now you have gotten in front of someone. You look left and right again, you say, well, I'm still pretty deep down in the list. But then by the time you become a senior, most of them didn't even come out. One of the things that we are testing when we're testing tough guys or we're testing athleticism to any degree is simply who can stick around. It is very few athletes that can dig deep, can sacrifice, and can push through one Olympic cycle. If they do it, if they found a way to fund it, if health-wise they found a way to keep those muscles sharp, if socially they found a way to keep friends when all they got tunnel vision on some athletic event, they stink half the time because they're sweaty, because they're training. Oh, by the way, guys, they got no money to pitch in when we all decide we want a pizza, right? That guy can't usually stick around for 2 and 3 cycles, but the ones that do end up with medals. I'm just bringing it to you. At once upon a time, we asked ourselves, who is the BMF? And we had it down to 2. We had it down to Masvidal. We had it down to Nate. Of the 2, 1 is left standing. So you tell me, if we were to go back then, have the information we have now, who really is our BMF?